Check one, check two. Man, let me get my microphone together. Preach brother BBO, VC Rail. You know I like to hit y'all with the late night joints, the quiet storm joints. But this one gonna be definitely a smooth one. Peace, brother Chauncey. This definitely gonna be a smooth one. I wanted to give some love to my state. Peace, brother. I'll go Ogunbola. I definitely want to give some love to the South. Oh, shoot, hold on. Let me take care of that right now. I got you. Give me 1 second, Ogun. That'll give me some time to let the room. Fam, for those who joining us, it'll behoove you to please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the, joint, the bell to be notified when we go live. I see the brother True Story is going live more so. Yeah, got to get me on my, hold on, where we at? I'm trying to find the setting now, but I got you. We're gonna get you hooked up. So while I get this done, again, the title of the video is Tarheel, Reconstruction. This is following the Civil War, where majority of these freedmen, FREEDMAN, coming out of the Civil War. Some self-emancipated, some were contraband, who flee to Union lines during the Civil War. A good majority of those individuals, via things like the Militia Act of 1862, because of their military service, were promised freedom. So we were fighting for freedom, but you know that service came with an invoice. So I wanted to highlight a period of time during North Carolina's history, particularly 1865, which was another important year, because it was the first state convention of colored people in North Carolina, not to be confused with the actual call for a convention of freed people, self-emancipated people in North Carolina to begin to strategize and begin to benefit from things like the 40 acres of a mule that was promised by the military service that secured them their freedom, secured their wife and children their freedom to be held as slaves no more. So I'm gonna see, can I do a, I wanna get you. Damn, I can't. Oh, I gotta do it from. Hold up, I'm gonna get you together. How many we got in the room? 5? Gotta give me some time. We ain't got that many people in here. Bowler, you should be good now, my brother. I think so. Type something real quick, Ogun, so I can make sure you got your joint. While we do that, let me get my screen share. Bad. So peace of brother Ogun. He is a moderator. You know what I'm saying? That's my brother. That's family right there. If you haven't, real quick before I get started, them brothers got a channel called, him and Coach Winnetts have a channel called Brown Table. Please go check it out. Brother Ogun, please feel free to take the link to your channel, brother, and definitely throw it in the chat. We definitely support y'all, what y'all doing. I appreciate it. That's where I can go and get some history as well as get a good laugh. You know what I'm saying? I'm brothers. And don't forget, you asked for that interview, so I'm waiting on you, brother Ogun. I'm ready whenever you are. Peace, brother Bayasa. So let's get into the bill. Again, Tarheel Reconstruction, a period following the Civil War. Again, these are formerly enslaved Africans, self-emancipated Africans, and Africans who participated via the United States Colored Troops and other forms of Black militia. So, and I highlighted earlier that 1865 was a pivotal year in North Carolina for Black folks because that was the first national color convention, and a lot of important things to discuss. So we're going to kind of get into it. So if you want to follow along with me, please open up the tab and go to the Colored Conventions Project. And for those who've been around for a while, on Each One Teach One, you've seen us go to this resource a lot. It's a free online source. What it is let me make this a little bit bigger for y'all. There we go. What it is an online repository of the minutes of state as well as national conventions of Black folks around the country. So when we say let the ancestors speak for themselves, or we want to get ascertain a good idea of what they were feeling at the time and their politics and their disagreements and how they dealt with racism, white supremacy, a lack of education, the similar things that we are still fighting for right now. We can kind of get some insights and formulate some lessons learned. So this is, just to go to the idea of why history is so important. Peace to the God Rock Kim. So let's get into it. So here, we're going to go to conventions by year. And we're looking for 1865. So, State Convention of Colored People of North Carolina, Raleigh, September 29, 1865. Now, keep 1865, Peace, Bro, Black. Keep 1865 in the back of your mind. So, just before we get into it, these are people beginning to form themselves in a state function politically for the amelioration of the people. So, we're going to get into, again, what the ancestors said for themselves. And this is the report. And we'll get some other things as well. I'm going to try to show y'all something that, I haven't shown y'all before. The Centavo piece. It says the Color Convention. The Convention of Colored People of North Carolina, so long expected, so novel to white people, and look forward to inaugurating, greet, and dreaded invitations, met here today and have spent the first day in peaceably organizing for the business before it. The counties along with the seaboards and sounds, as those lying accessible by railroad to the capital, were generally represented. Probably 150 delegates who were appointed by meetings and informal bodies of free people are present. So there's free people. Okay, we'll keep going. Some bringing credentials, others had as much as they could bring themselves, having escaping from their homes stealthily by night and walking long distances such to avoid observation. Remember, Negroes meeting was at this time was just prohibited. From New Bern, Beaufort, Wilmington, there were full delegations, among them several ministers of intelligence, eloquence, and influence. Judged by ordinary rules, the convention changed more than an average amount of intelligence and ability, and all seem to have come together for the earnest wish and determination to their best interests of their race. Now outward opposition has been manifested by the citizens to their assembling, though there is evidently a strong undercurrent of feeling adverse to the whole affair. The progress this morning uttered is solemn warning to the colored people to be careful what they did. Remember, they did not want you organizing. What's so dreadful, DC Brand? Peace. Why will the white community need to issue a warning to Black folks telling them to be careful what they did for organizing? Okay. The eastern counties, which have longest enjoyed freedom and protection by the Army, are evidently ahead of their less favored brethren in the central and western portion of the state, who have more recently emerged from slavery, though they are not superior to them in intelligence or in proper appreciation of the situation, and by the means have adopted for mutual elevation, their mutual elevation. The call for the convention originated in New Bern, and the people here about scarcely consulted upon the subject. Remember, the first meeting was in New Bern. That was where the call came through, like I mentioned earlier. Here deemed impolitic and unwise to call the convention so near to and proceed in the constitutional convention of the state, but were overruled. Another aspect of this conversation, at the very same moment, at the very same time, down the street, the North Carolina Constitutional Convention was being held. And there's some important aspects about these individuals who attended this convention, because they sent a letter or a petition, which really should have been addressed to the Constitutional Convention. And we will get into here briefly what they were asking for. Aisha Rourke, peace. Let me get some coffee. Here at Dean, where was I at? They were more cautious and moderate in their demands, while the delegates from below seemed disposed to demand everything in the way of civil rights. One delegate from New Hanover County, Wilmington, even proposed to demand admittance to the White Convention. The convention assembled in Loyal African ME Church, sometimes called Lincoln Church, from the fact that it was have a statue of the martyr president, with their quotation of his last inaugural ornament in the building. Let's continue. So one of the individuals who spoke at the convention was a man named James W. Hood. So let's get into who he is now, just so everybody is familiar. So we're going to ncpedia.com. James Walker Hood. Hold on, can make sure. No, I don't think y'all can see that. Let me make that bigger. Please, family, if you listen, we've got 21 in the room. Thank you for joining us. We're having a discussion about Tarheel Reconstruction. These are some of the men and women who were self-emancipated. Some were contraband that fled to the Union lines during the Civil War, and others who were free people. And in 1865, again, was a pivotal year. Not only was the state having this Constitutional Convention, you have the first statewide convention where delegates came from different counties to represent their constituents, to give ideas for fighting for one of the biggest things at the time was suffrage, and also being able to, go to the ballot box to defend yourself in court. So James Walker Hood, clergyman, educator, and bishop for the son of Levi and Harriet Walker Hood, was born on the farm of Ephraim Jackson in Chester County, PA, 9 miles from Wilmington, Delaware. His mother, a woman of extraordinary intelligence, was interested in all matters affecting blacks, including a separate church for her race. His father was a Methodist minister. While living in Wilmington, Hood's parents became involved in a controversy over by white Methodists. Henceforth, they supported the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, established as the Methodist Church for blacks. Let's go. Hood became active in North Carolina politics on behalf of his people. In the fall of 1865, he presided over the first statewide political convention for blacks, which met to demand civil and political rights. In 1868, he participated in the state constitutional convention and contributed greatly to placing strong homestead and public school provisions in the Constitution. From 1868 to 1871, Hood served as Assistant State Superintendent of Public Instruction with the major duty of founding and supervising public schools for blacks. Although hampered by white hostility and the lack of teachers, he increased attendance to 49,000 students in 1871. Who remained active in the Republican Party, serving as a delegate to the National Convention in 1872 and as temporary chairman to the state constitution in 1876. He also served briefly as a magistrate and deputy collector of customs from 1868 to 1871, without pay, as assistant superintendent to the Freedmen's Bureau in North Carolina, which we will get to here shortly. So let's go back to the bill, his speech. Upon taking the chair, the president, J.W. Hood, said scarcely knew what language to employ to express to the convention his sense of honor they had conferred upon him by selecting him to preside over their deliberations. They had never been before, there probably never be again, so important an assemblage of the colored people of North Carolina as the present and its influence upon the destinies for the people for all time to come. They had assembled from the hillside, the mountains, and the valleys to consult together upon the best interests of colored people and their watchwords, equal rights before the law. Make sure you put a pin in that as well. They should act respectfully toward all men, the rowdy as well as the gentleman, in and outdoors. Let's scroll down. He was an adopted citizen and had sojourned 2 years within the state, but if not a citizen of North Carolina, he did not know where he could claim it. They must live here with the white people. All talk of exportation, expatriation, colonization, and the like was simple nonsense. So the sentiments of shooting at colonization and immigration out of the country has, some can argue, trickled down to the southern states, or already had been some sentiment via men like David Walker some years earlier. Torah is the light. You are not indigenous. For you, sir, we're going to do this. Because you can come up here and get cooked too. I don't know what your, or maybe you'll clarify yourself. The major part of the people, where we at here? The major part of the people, both white and black, were gentlemen and ladies. If we respected ourselves, we would be respected. Though we may not gain all at once, we have waited long enough to do so. So even thought of slavery was not yet abolished. The sooner they to give the people their rights, the sooner he believed they would know how to exercise them. 3 of the 4 things were wanted. First, make sure everyone can see this. First, the right to testify in courts of justice. Second, to be received into a jury box. The Constitution of the United States and several states guarantee all person accused of a crime the right of a trial before a jury of his peers. The colored man was his peer, and he claimed that he should be permitted to sit on a jury where a colored man was to be tried. This is the fight for civil rights, be able to defend yourself as a citizen. Because remember, there was previous decrees that established the freedom and citizenry of these native-born people of African descent, and we'll get to that as well. Third, the right of a colored man to act as counsel in the courts of a for the black man. Wait, I thought no one was saying black man. We'll continue. Fourth, to carry the ballot, suffrage. These are the rights we will contend for. These are the rights we will have, God being the helper. So we're going to continue with some of the resolutions that came with during this meeting. Where we at? Declaring unworthy, we said the Business Committee made a report, the substance of which may be summed up as follows. Declaring unworthy of confidence or respect of any colored man or woman who would not do for a colored person what they would for a white person under the same circumstances. Them people always existed. Advising against the crowding into towns and cities, declaring the first wants of colored people to be employment at fair wages in various branches of industry, to secure lands and to cultivate them, and to lay up your earnings against a rainy day. 1865, they were telling us to save our money. Advising the colored people to educate themselves and their children, not alone in book learning, but in a high moral energy, self-respect, and a virtuous Christian dignified life. Yes, these are the children of the moral uplift movement, which is nothing wrong with that. The resolution to appoint a committee of 3 and wait on the Constitutional Convention to present and address and to label to secure favorable legislation was laid upon the table. Remember, I spoke earlier about the North Carolina State Constitutional Convention was happening at the same time down the road. So this resolution to appoint a committee to present an address, that's the address that they sent for, again, those rights of suffrage. And I have another joint come after this, who's the actual bill to show you all the sources and all that for that. So let's continue. All right, the following resolutions concluded the report of the Business Committee. Resolved that we are in favor of our government and the Union against all enemies, home and abroad, that our fathers fought to establish and we will fight to maintain them. Who were those fathers? Those Africans or people who of African descent who fought in the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. And when he says, and we will fight to maintain them, those are the ones who participated in defending the Union during the Civil War. That we would not hesitate to prompt performance to our duty to the nation in her hour of peril. That we will prove our habits of industry and respectability. That we are worthy of citizenship among the people of North Carolina. Again, a fight for citizenship and civil rights. Resolved that we hailed the event of emancipation, the establishment of the Freedmen's Bureau, protecting the interests of the colored people of the South, the recognition of the independence of Haiti and the Republic of Liberia, the admission of Mr. Rock to the bar of the Supreme Court, and the establishment of schools for more than 75,000 freed children. The proposed amendment to the federal constitution and its endorsement by various state legislatures. Process of an enlightened sentiment of moral obligation and progress of the Republic of Liberation, elsewhere with joy and thanksgivings as a turning page in our history. So let's talk about this Freedmen's Bureau. Open up a tab, if you will, and let's talk about this Freedmen's Bureau. So, and you see, I know like a lot of people like National Archives, and you see, I didn't have to insert my credit card. I didn't have to get no Bitcoin or anything to access the National Archives for the article on the Freedmen's Bureau, just for those who are interested in how to get to this. For the 2020 room, I appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you'll be notified when we go live. Follow us on our social media apparatuses. Clubhouse, same name, Each One Teach One, as well as check out the Each One Teach One YouTube group on Facebook. So let's talk about African American Records Freedmen's Bureau background in the years following the Civil War. Wait, I want to make sure y'all can see this. I don't know what I just did, but hope I ain't jacking on that. Oh, that's I did find page. Okay, that should be good now. It says, in the years following the Civil War, the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, or the Freedmen's Bureau, provided assistance to tens of thousands of former slaves and impoverished whites in the southern states and the District of Columbia. The war had liberated nearly 4 million slaves and destroyed the region's cities, towns, and plantation-based economy. It left former slaves and many whites dislocated from their homes, facing starvation and owning only the clothes they wore. The challenge establishing of a new social order founded of freedom and racial equality was enormous. The Bureau was established in the War Department in 1865 to undertake the relief effort and the unprecedented social construction that would bring freed people to full citizenship. Full citizenship. And you see freed people. Remember that. Take note of that. It issued food, clothing, operating hospitals and temporary camps, helped locate family members and promote education, helped freedmen legalize marriages, provided employment, supervised labor contracts, provided legal representation, investigated racial confrontation, settled freedmen on abandoned lands or confiscated lands, and worked with African American soldiers and sailors and their heirs to secure back pay, bond payments, and pensions. First, the abandoned lands they're referring to, I'm not going to go back to them because it's going to be a lot. So the Confiscation Act of 1861, that's a tab. You see, that's when Lincoln and them began contemplating that those rebellious landowners, that their property could be seized, that they could be sent to court based upon their sedition. Peace, Brother Zane. So following the Confiscation Act of 1861, there was a Confiscation Act of 1862 that went a step further. The Confiscation Act of 1862 now said that we're going to not only take you to court, but we're going to free your slaves, and they're going to be free forever. You dig what I'm saying? And also in there, and I spoke about it on the last bill, in that same act, they talked about colonizing the African. If I remember it, I'll make sure I show you. I'll put the link in the chat for those who are interested. So again, this service came with an invoice that was full citizenship. You know what? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Where we at here? It said that we hailed with satisfaction the efforts of the portion of the Republican Party, which Messrs. Chase, Sumner, and Stevens, which Charles Sumner and Thaddeus Stevens are some of the ones that you see a lot of African Americans during this time hailing a lot. Greatly our heads to secure the colored citizens their rights through the actions of Congress against any and all who oppose those rights. Resolved that we view the pride of rapid progress that is making on a portion of our young men in the is eligible, our cause of education in the pursuit of all honorable industry, the organization of lyceums, also thanking various editors for their publishing papers devoted to equal rights for all men. Resolved, we held today's issue of Journal of Freedom. What is Journal of Freedom? Who's that? Suri, peace. See, we got anybody in the chat. Yeah, peace to y'all. We appreciate you coming through. Published in this city by Mr. Brooks. With joy, we value his able editorials. We give him our cordial support. And again, the source for this is a National Anti-Slavery Standard, October 14, 1865. But we see in this previous line, you see a Journal of Freedom. So what is the Journal of Freedom? So not only did, the northern states participate in the press, you had states like mine, North Carolina, the Tarheel state, that had those as well. So for those who open up a tab, I'll say it's Journal, there you go, Freedom, NC. Where we at here? So make sure y'all can see the screen. The Journal of Freedom, Raleigh, North Carolina, 1865. A bold, here we at, right here, found for those who following, right down here. A bold push on their behalf of Negro suffrage in the South has made in Raleigh, North Carolina, the establishment there of an out-and-out Negro suffrage paper. Again, this was a fight for citizenry, and one of the things that was covered via the Color Convention was, where we at? The fourth was the right to carry the ballot. All right, so we talking about Negro suffrage in North Carolina. Publishers Edward P. Brooks and John Quincy Adams Carine entitled their universal suffrage paper, The Journal of Freedom, and proudly proclaimed equal rights before the law for all free men. The same sentiments echoed from the Color Convention. The journal had 1,000 subscribers and only one advertiser at its onset. Early enthusiasm among freed community could not combat increasing difficulties, and the paper resolved after only 5 issues. The journal examined topics related to freed people such as the suffrage movement, Freedmen's Bureau Affairs, and military service, to name a few. It provided extensive coverage of the 1865 Freedmen's Convention held in Raleigh from September 29th through October 3rd. The 2 full pages dedicated to the convention included such items as an open letter to North Carolinians by Horace Greeley, the Constitution and Preamble of the Equal Rights League, and a summary of all sessions. Brooke addressed the convention and promoted his paper and its goals. The journal's dedication to the interests of freed people was endorsed by Abraham Galloway. That's the tab, Abraham Galloway. The brother Rob Bourne in our previous bill talked about William Steele, Underground Records. Abraham Galloway's escape is recorded via Abraham Galloway in that text. And we see Abraham Galloway comes back to North Carolina from Canada and runs for state senate. But that's another story I'll save for another Tarheel bedtime story. Where we at here? The Journal of Freedom was published from September 30th to October 28, 1865. During this short run, the paper suffered from a lack of advertising sale, malicious high rents, and general opposition to its message. Crane bowed out in the 4th issue for reasons unnamed, leaving Brooks to manage the paper alone. On October 28, a week after Crane's departure, Brooks announced that it would be a temporary cessation of publication to allow him to acquire proper printing equipment. However, no further issues of the Journal of Freedom were published. So let's take a look at this journal. And this is not to be confused with that, little paper up north called Freedom Journal that came out in 1827. Okay, this is the real journal that you're seeing on your screen. A Black newspaper edited by Black people. You see at the top left, Edward P. Brooks, devoted to the interests of freedmen of the South and the establishment and maintenance of equal rights for all men, regardless of class or color. So you see here that moniker is equal rights before the law for all men. Social conditions will regulate themselves. For those on the Discord, I will be putting a source of this in the back for y'all. I just wanted to highlight a few things to not only just, substantiate what the convention and its members were saying that they want, but also one ways we can ascertain how people felt were through their publications and newspapers, just similar to, again, that newspaper in up north that was created called Freedom Journal. This journal was a way for African Americans during this period of time to shape media for their interests and also be able to speak their own voice in a time where, as we're going to get to here shortly in this first page, how white people or white society viewed African Americans, particularly in their fight for suffrage. So I want to give up again. We're going to cover a few things on this page. This is definitely one of them. We're going to cover a few things about not only suffrage, but some Freedmen Bureau stuff, some Lincoln quotes as well. So again, we got 24 in the room. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share the show. Let me put. Okay, so right here we see your article. Hold on, put my mouse back. It says Negro voting, hear both sides. An intimate Tennessean who we believe voted to ratify the secession of his state, but has been loyal ever since she was reconquered by the Union, writes us to say as much length that he very much approved that we have said in favor of universal amnesty, but utterly condemns the advocacy of universal suffrage. So he's in favor of those who rebelled against the Union having amnesty, but yet he doesn't want those who participated in freeing the Union the right for suffrage. So we're going to get into what his argument is to hear both sides. In your plea for universal amnesty, I agree with you that we best effect to great ends of peace, but be promotive of the best earnest of the country if an exception were made. I should not object, but in your advocacy of universal, I think you got them much too far. The country is not yet prepared nor in the intent to replace outcomes with the vote. Make sure. Hope my screen didn't go out. Y'all let me know if I'm all funky in the chat. I'm gonna continue though. Where was I? The government, based upon supposed virtue and intelligence of the people, all men agree that the Negro is a free man, but who supposes even that he possesses the virtue and intelligence to wisely, understandingly exercise the right? By such an act, over 400,000 ignorant persons who know not more of the genes and workings of our institutions than they know of the geography of the moon will be added to our great mass, already too large, of unlettered and ignorant voters. If any change is to be made in the elective franchise, let it be restricted to those who have intelligence to use and not abuse the privilege, not by a property qualification, but by requiring all whoever to vote at least know how to read and write. Yes, at this time in North Carolina, remember David Walker wrote in 1829, but the larger majority, as the previous convention notes mentioned, weren't necessarily, they were just up from slavery. This is 1865, North Carolina. A little bit different from the North with regards to being able to exercise certain freedoms and liberties, or not even to exercise them, but to fight for them. Where we at here? It says, in God's name, if you would, let's go up. If you will serve the liberties of our country and trust power only to those when they vote can vote understandingly. I do not propose to enter into discussion of many questions opened by this letter, but merely touch on some prominent points. The Negro now has freedom. Let him take that. Let him take that. You weren't supposed to be out here fresh off the plantation talking about you want to vote and that you have freedoms that you're fighting for. That wasn't, you weren't supposed, you supposed to be just enjoying the fact that you ain't getting bust upside your head with this whip. And you can tell your kids what to do. And you can have your family back. Let him take that and improve his situation and at least wait for the time and exercise it in the developments and advancements he may make before he asks the right of suffrage. The white man, even though he can be unfriendly to him, is better prepared to legislate for the Negro than he is to legislate for himself. He is now but muling and punking in the arms of his deliverers from bondage of slavery. the Republican Party is those he's referring to. Let him at least advance by degrees. Try crawling first, then see if he can walk. When it's proved that he can stand erect, enjoy to appropriate his freedom, and understand the great principles and responsibilities, then will be a time to even talk of voting to make laws in this country to carry the government. So the Tribune, which is another newspaper at this time, answers, this call. It says, one, the country not being prepared for impartial suffrage. We are trying to prepare it. They ain't trying to hear that. We have over and again explained that we ask no exemption for blacks from merely intellectual or literary tests of fitness and capacity that bears equally upon all classes. Upon all classes. We will gladly agree that none shall vote but those who can read or read and write, or who pay taxes, or who follow some useful vocation, or to any of the touchstone calculated to confine the right to suffrage to capable and worthy. Let's keep going. 3, we lack evidence that the blacks of the South are exponentially ignorant or stolid. On the contrary, we hold them very intelligent while eagerly acquiring knowledge. We believe them in the average no whit less enlightened than the poor whites, all whom can vote. So that's, highlighting the hypocrisy. It is clearly untrue that the extension of suffrage we seek will increase the power of ignorance in our political affairs. On the contrary, it will vastly diminish it. The power coheres not in the number of ignorant voters, but in their, I think that's out. We'll go to the next line. 1 million unlettered voters fairly divided between the two great parties would do less mischief than 100,000 voting unanimously and steadily on one side. And if all the blacks, there you see blacks again, voted today, that circumstance will lessen, not increase the power of ignorance in our party's conflicts. We're going to scroll down some more. It said the Negroes have been crawling for a tiresome while. They propose now to stand erect for a change, and we will help them do so. An article continues to answer. That's just some, we're not gonna go through them all, but the article definitely talks to that point. Let me see if we got anything in the chat. Appreciate that. Okay, man. Yeah, appreciate that, Decentivo. Any questions so far for the 21 we got in the room before we move on to another part of the journal? So let's touch on, Mississippi freedmen. We blow it up so everybody can see. There's been a question about these freedmen. It says the Vicksburg Journal says nearly 10,000 acres of land have been leased to colored people in the vicinity of Vicksburg for the present year, and that most in it process of successful cultivation. There are about 250 or 300 of these leases, most of whom have informed partnerships with the northern men to procure the means of carrying on their enterprise. So remember, hold on, let me get out of this. I'm gonna take y'all back to where we at. Follow along, folks. I'm gonna bring it right back home. So remember, I took you to the Freedmen's Bureau in the National Archives, one of our favorite places to go. Yes, it does, Vayasa. Yes, it does. We're back at the African American records. And this is just not a article just talking about what the Freedmen's Bureau is. It has records that people like to say they have, and valuable records for the genealogists and social historians. It says the records left by the Freedmen's Bureau through its work between 1865 and 1872 constitute the richest and most extensive documentary source available for investigating the African American experience in the post-Civil War and Reconstruction eras. Historians have used these materials to explore government and military policies, local conditions, and interactions between freed people and local white populations and the Bureau's officials. These records present to genealogists and social historians with the unequaled wealth of information that extends the reach of Black family studies. Documenting such local census, marriage records, and medical records provided free people's full names and former masters. Federal censuses through 1860 list slaves only statistically under the master's household. No name indexes are available at this time, but the documents can be rewarding, particularly since the full names, residents, and often the names of former masters and plantations. For those who are interested, I will do this now. Man, I'm gonna put this guy. I want one of you to come up here. So back to these records that I was talking about. So I think I can zoom out a little bit. It's kind of too much. Okay, cool. So one of the cool things about this site is you can get the actual field office records. So earlier from the article, it mentioned Mississippi freedmen. So for those in Mississippi, let's kind of go see what we can find, y'all. You see there's a field office records on microfilm. Mississippi, Freedmen's Bureau, and the 65 roads. And a lot of this stuff is microfilm. So you definitely got to put some information in, get to a time to get to it and, kind of see that stuff. But we can actually get to some of the descriptions here. So let's click on this. It says records of the field offices for the state of Mississippi Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands. So let's just type in Vicksburg. Oh, where we at here? Activities. It says major activities of the Freedmen's Bureau of Mississippi generally resemble those conducted in other states. The Bureau issued rations both to freedmen and white refugees. So remember, when it says the Freedmen's Bureau of Refugees and freedmen and abandoned lands, it's the white refugees, the loyal whites, and I'll show you the law here when I get done where it lists actually says loyal whites. White refugees supervise labor contracts between planters and freedmen, administer justice, work with benevolent societies in the establishment of schools, provided assistance in legalizing freedmen marriages, and assisted in not limited extent the local land for freedmen. The Freedmen's Bureau sought to prevent widespread starvation and destitution in Mississippi by issuing more than 180,000 rations to both whites and blacks in 1865, and 170,000 rations to blacks and white refugees in 1866. Let's see what else is going on in Vicksburg. So, any questions about that before I continue? Just for those who are interested. Where we at here? Make sure we good on this page. All right, we're gonna go to the next page. And we see here at the top, Saturday, September 30th, 1865. And you see there's an entry here discussing the color convention that happened the day before. So we're going to read through this as well. Tashawn Wikipedia scholars. We're going to take, I don't know, but I'm going to say this is not Wikipedia. Just for, let me just back up real quick. This is the Library of Congress, Journal of Freedom, which is a black newspaper. So just for clarity and a reset, when we talk about understanding what people were thinking and fighting for, we go to what they said for themselves and how they identify themselves. So via the Journal of Freedom, which is a black newspaper, we're seeing how black people are defining not only their culture, but their politics. Hit the link. That's what you can do. We not going back and forth in the chat. You hit links if you want to go back and forth, because I'm gonna do nothing but send you back down to the chat. Let's It says the Colored Convention. The Convention of Colored Men in the state of North Carolina met at Methodist African Church yesterday morning at 10 o'clock. About 120 delegates being present. Mr. John Good from Craven County was appointed temporary chairman, and Messrs. John Randolph and George D. Price, also Craven, were appointed temporary secretaries. Committees on credentials were prepared rules for the government of the Constitution, and a permanent organization were also appointed, after which convention took a recess until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The national disarrangements of our office, occasioned by a hurried issue of this, our first number, prevented us from giving a full report this morning. Next week, however, we will furnish our readers with the proceedings, official and entire. So far, this convention is a credit to the color man. He has been dignified in his proceedings, and the general tone of the manner of the members of almost unanimously has been conciliatory and conservative. Mr. Good, the temporary chairman, and Mr. Randolph, the secretary, have given evidence of the law. Negroes in 1865 understand parliamentary law, which is praiseworthy as unexpected. Members were earnest and honest in their desire to preserve peace and harmony, and their efforts in that direction are untiring. Let's continue. So you don't have to necessarily agree with Seneb. You don't necessarily have to agree with the minutes from the Anti-Slavery Standard. You can also go to the Black newspaper and see minutes about the convention. So let's go to this other article here. Remember, because the fight during this time in North Carolina was about suffrage. It says suffrage and prejudice. And this is for the Apple guy. I don't know who he is, Tashawn. This is for you. If people will allow themselves to be guided by common sense, laying aside their prejudices, the great political questions which have arisen with the new state of affairs in the South will be settled amicably and without difficulty. Time was when the free colored population of North Carolina exercised the right of suffrage with the whites, and the records of that period do not show that the state was injured by it, nor would any of many men now alive who received colored votes be willing, we think, to admit that they were degraded by them. Many a man who talks about the degradation of such thing has in past time placed his vote side by side with the same ballot box with that of a colored man. Where are we? The right has only taken from the free. This right was only taken from the free colored man because of his influence over the slave. I hope everyone can see that. This right was only taken from the free colored man because of his influence over the slaves. Because the Black abolitionists were the spearheads that pushed emancipation. We freed ourselves. Lincoln didn't free you, you freed yourself. So matter of fact, I'm gonna do this too for the people. I feel like it's appropriate. So for those who are interested, when we talk about the times when freed colored people in North Carolina could vote, for those who are interested, I recommend a book by the great John Hope Franklin. It's called The Free Colored Population of North Carolina, 1796 to 1860. It's a great book. He used Census Records primary source on people at the time to, and also Freedmen's Bureau Records. If anyone knows Vyasa, I'm sure he's already typing away in the chat because he has a interesting connection, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, with John Hope Franklin. So on the period when these rights were stripped from the colored people or Black people or people of African descent, was in 1835 in North Carolina. So if you want, I believe it's a Journal of the Convention. Boom, there you go. So this is called the Journal of the Convention, called by the freedmen. Notice how it doesn't say freed of North Carolina to amend the Constitution of the state, which assembled in the city of Raleigh on the 4th of June, 1835. And continued until the 11th day, July thereafter. Hold on, I'm gonna get y'all the title page just so there ain't no sleight of hand. Ain't no sleight of hand. Journal of the Peace, peace. We back. Can y'all hear me? Are we good? Check one, check two. Check one, check two. Make sure we good in here. Check one, check two. We Gucci bet. So again, this is the Journal of the Convention, Saturday, June 13th, 1835. The convention met pursuant and adjourned prayer by Reverend Johnson. On the motion of Mr. Schober, the convention proceeded to consider the amendment reported from the Constitution of the whole, to whom was referred to the fourth resolution, proposing the committee appointed to inquire whether and if any, what amendments are proper to make to the Constitution as to the abrogation or restriction of the right of free Negroes or mulattoes to vote for membership of the Senate or House of Commons, which amendment is to strike out all of the said resolution after the word resolve and insert lien thereof, that free Negroes and mulattoes within 4 degrees inclusive be deprived from the privilege of voting for memberships in the Senate and House of Commons. Rob on live. Rob on can't be live at the same time. That's probably what threw me off. That probably, Rob on. I don't even know how he doing that. I don't even know how Rob on is doing that. I don't even know. I don't even know if they're gonna keep both of them. Oh man, I may kill this one and come back. I don't know what we got going. Give me one quick set, fam. Yo, this is crazy, yo. Oh man, I don't even know how that works. Oh man, this is just, oh, y'all abos lucky. Oh man, y'all lucky. Oh man, one second, fam. I'm trying to get. Hey, I tell you what, we're gonna keep cooking. We're gonna keep cooking, and we ain't gonna let it stop. But so again, where we at? Everybody, let me share my screen again. Yo, knock my screen out in the whole nine. Can y'all see the screen before? I hope y'all can see the screen before. I'm gonna read it again just cause. I'm gonna read it again just cause. This is Saturday, June 13th, 1835. Right? It says on a motion from Mr. Schober, the convention proceeded to consider the amendment purported from the committee of the whole, to whom was referred in the resolution, proposing that a committee be appointed to inquire whether any, and if any, what amendments are proper to be made to the Constitution as to the abrogation and restriction of the rights of free Negroes or mulattoes to vote of members of the Senate or House of Commons. Who are these free Negroes? Why didn't it say Indians? Why didn't it say Aboriginal Americans? Why are the victims of said law having a convention in 1835 suggesting such? Let's continue. Mr. Moorhead moved to amend the amendment by striking out all after the word that and asserting all free Negroes and mulattoes within the 4th degree shall be excluded from voting from the members of the Senate. That all free Negroes and mulattoes have an age of 21 years, the first one, who have been inhabitants of the said county within the state 12 months immediately preceding the day of the election, and possess a freehold within the same county of a value of which they didn't include a dollar amount for 6 months next before and at the next day of the election, shall having been convicted of any infamous crime or offense, shall be entitled to vote for members of the House of Commons. So we're going to get to the next page after they vote. So the committee came to the following resolution. Resolved that free Negroes and mulattoes within 4 degrees of inclusive be deprived from the privilege of voting for members of the Senate and the House of Commons. That's what the paper is referring to. So we're going to get back to the article. It says, one of the reasons in the Vanity of Human Nature, I think I read that. It says another and equally powerful reason is selfishness. Selfishness. Mankind is loath to give upon his power, or rather to divide it. The know-nothings were opposed to dividing the power of the ballot box with foreigners. And now know-nothings and foreigners are opposed to undertaking the same privileges to the natives too, who have proved themselves true among the faithless. The theory, real quick, let's talk about who the know-nothings are. Know-nothings. Let's talk about the now-nothings. Two lives. Peace, Dave B. Yeah, I don't even know how it happened. He probably doing it on his own, so I don't know how he's going to throw it in. It may throw my video before his. I don't know who started first. I don't think he started before me. The Know Nothings were a nativist political party and movement in the United States in the mid 1850s. Despite using Native American Party name, its membership consisted of the descendants of colonists or settlers and did not include indigenous Native Americans. Don't run to that, Aboriginal people. That's not who the Know Nothing Party was. The Know Nothings were originally a secret society. It was primarily a anti-Catholic, anti-Irish, anti-immigration, populist, and xenophobic movement. Let's get back to the paper. The theory that this is a white man's country is based on the same selfish principle and has its origin in the most ungenerous spirit which can control the mind of man. The free invitation to extend by our government to the oppressed of all the world to take rest within the domains and enjoy freedom of religion and political opinions. Yet some of the people who compose the government are, in their blindness and inconsistent to the selfish ability, this great inducement by which always been the great incentive to immigration, the ability not to have suffrage, to be taxed without being represented, to not have civil rights, to still be treated in an inhumane second citizen fashion. That's what forced those who experienced the riots in Cincinnati in 1829. That's why they wanted to flee and go to Canada. Let's continue. This is a simple and just application of the great principle on which our government is based. The consent of the government will obliterate all distinction on account of color or race, and the African will have the same right to voice his making laws which he has to obey as the Irishman. No one will pretend for a moment to deny the right of the native Irishman, German, or English descent to vote, and it seems that the unprejudiced a strange piece of inconsistency that an expectation to this generally accepted rule should be made against the descendants of Africans. This is a black newspaper. I don't see any questions in the chat. I'm almost done. I'm gonna go there and flame Rob Bourne joint. So another article that we're going to review is the evidence of freedmen. It's going to kind of discuss what and who these freedmen are. Make sure I'm gonna cover that. I may skip this. We're gonna skip that. Yeah, I missed wrong. Where the hell was I at? Let's get out of this and we're gonna go to page 3. Please, family, if you watching, we got 20 in here. I don't know how much Rob Bourne got in there, but that'd be dope if he in there killing too. So again, I wanted to cover the Freedmen's Bureau because there's also been a lot of confusion. I just showed the Know Nothings. There was a lot of confusion about who and what the Freedmen's Bureau was for. So we're going to go to what the black people said and how they benefited from said Freedmen's Bureau. The Freedmen's Bureau, the above was generally accepted title to one of the most beneficial organizations of the different departments of the United States government. Its objects are charitable, and the generosity of our government towards those afflicted by the late war is fully exemplified by its operations. It was established by an act of Congress approved March 3rd, 1865, under the title of Bureau for the Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands. Who are the refugees? For those who been in here for a while, who were considered the refugees? I'll wait. Who were considered the refugees? No one. The loyal whites who didn't succeed and join the Confederate forces were considered the refugees or loyal refugees. I'm going to get to the bill here shortly. It says Major General O. Howard was a supposed appointed to its head, and the first circular dated May 15th announces his interest upon his duties to the location and bureau. Circular number 2, May 19th, announces the scheme and subordination of the official duty in connection with charitable, industrial, and educational aims of the Bureau. The orders the retention of abandoned lands then under cultivation by freedmen, at least until the growing crops are secured to them and their labor fully and justly remunerated. So remember, the Confiscation Act of 1861 and 2 allowed the federal government to seize and confiscate lands and free the slaves of those who were seceding from the government or participated in secession. Those Africans, a lot of times, stayed on those plantations, those lands, which we're going to see here in the Freedmen's Bureau Act, guaranteed, following Sherman, the rights of 40 acres and a mule. So let's continue with the circular. So this is what I want to show. Circular number 15, September 12th, to find what is meant by abandoned lands and what by confiscated. When any assistant commissioner satisfied that the United States has acquired no title to land by abandonment, confiscation, sale, or otherwise, he will formally surrender it to the authorized claimant or claimants. Accurate lists are therefore to be kept and monthly reports made of lands under the control of the commissioners. As much of them is to set apart and is needed for immediate use of the loyal refugees. Remember I said those are those whites, the loyal refugees and freedmen, selecting those which most clearly belong to the keeping of the Bureau. So those lands were set aside for those freedmen. So let me get back out here so we can get to hold up. I'm gonna go to the stash. Appreciate y'all for staying in, tuning in with me. Let me see. My screen shared back. Oh man, we up to 24. Boom. So let me just make this viewable for everyone. And we see here again, March 3rd, 1865, an act to establish a Bureau for the relief of freedmen and refugees, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America. In Congress assembled, there is hereby established in the War Department to continue during the present war of rebellion. Remember, this is a civil war. And for 1 year after, a Bureau of Refugees, loyal whites, freedmen, and abandoned lands, those ones confiscated via those confiscation acts, to which shall be committed and hereafter provided. So I wanted to get, I want to say it's section 12. Oh, not section 12, where we at? Oh, section 4. Hope everyone can see this. It says, and it be further enacted, the commissioner under direction of the president shall have the authority to set apart for the use of loyal refugees and freedmen such tracts of land within the incendiary states and shall have been abandoned or which have the United States have acquired title by confiscation or sale or otherwise to every male citizen, whether refugee or freedman. As aforesaid, there shall be assigned not more than 40 acres of such land, and the persons to whom it is so assigned shall be protected in the use and enjoyment of the land for a term of 3 years at an annual rent not exceeding 6 per centuum. So not just following Sherman, you see the United States via the Freedmen's Bureau during the time we call Reconstruction and the benefits of this bureau to those who were freedmen, newly emancipated, self-emancipated African, people of African descent, as the newspaper described. I hope everybody is still following me. And you see even here on the side, it talks about the Freedmen's Bureau, news, number of troops. Let's cover that one for a second, because I think I missed that earlier. It says number of Negro troops. The whole number of colored troops mustered into service of the United States since the commencement of the war is 180,000. Of those, no less than 50,000 earlier died or were killed in battle, a proportion of casualties far greater than among those of white troops. 6,000 have recently been mustered out, leaving 70,000 still in service, a very considerable army itself. A paper was picked up by the Senate House in Raleigh, North Carolina, which purported to be a bill entitled an act to permit persons of African descent to choose their own masters and become slaves. The benefit plans of the projector of the bill seem to have been defeated on the question of the reading it a third time. The document was sent to the adjudicated General Schuler. Oh, man. Peace, Sister Kava Nepti. I'm glad you came through. Peace to the sister. Oh, man. So, these individuals who ultimately formed the United States Colored Troops, I don't know if I covered this earlier, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to talk about the Militia Act of 1862, because these are where these individuals stem from. So I'm going to show you as well how to get to the source. So this is the wiki page. The source is provided by the Statutes of Law, which is an online document or paper document that houses all the congressional records, right? And I'm going to put this link in the chat for you. And it's an act to amend calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress invasions, and repel invasions approved February 28, 1795. So this is following that one. You see on the right, July 17, 1862. So we gonna go down. I believe this one is section 12. I'll make it big. Hopefully you can see section 12. And it be further enacted that the president be and he is hereby authorized to receive into the service of the United States for the purpose of construction entrenchments or performing camp service or any other labor or any military or naval service to which they may be found competent, persons of African descent. And such persons shall be enrolled and organized under such regulations, not inconsistent with the Constitution and laws as the president may prescribe. Let's continue with section 13. And it be further enacted that when any man or boy of African descent, who may be by the laws of any state, shall owe service or labor to any person who during the present rebellion has levied war or has bore arms against the United States, or adhered to their enemies by giving them aid and comfort, shall render any such service as provided for his in this act, he, his mother, hold on, let me make sure y'all can see this. He, his mother, his wife, and children shall forever and thereafter be free. Any law, uses, or custom whatsoever to the contrary notwithstanding. So, so when you have Black folks in the later months organizing, remember I said earlier that there was an invoice associated with the service. It's based off the not only the the Militia Act of 1862, but freedom. Freedom was associated with service, provided that the mother, wife, or child of such man or boy of African descent shall not be made free by the operation of this act, except where such mother, wife, children owe service to, labor to some person who, during the present rebellion, has borne arms against the United States. So, I mean, I think that'll do. I don't know if there are any questions in the chat. Even an article here on Lincoln's idea on suffrage. Sorry, bro, I didn't know you was live. It's all good. Yo, I got 28 in here now. Oh shoot, I think the joint by my machine going crazy. But again, just to recap, I spoke. Let me pull it up again for those who we talked about the color conventions, right? I spoke about the year 1865 being the influential year of North Carolina politics, being the first state-wide constitution. Let me get it pulled up for those who just entering the room. And to recap the minutes of said convention, these individuals, under the leadership of James W.C. Hood, were asking for a few things from the constitutional convention of the state that was happening at the same time. And they were the, where we at? It's here. It said, it's highlighted here. It said, first, the right to testify in the courts of justice. Second, to be received into the jury box. The Constitution of the United States and several states guaranteed all person accused of a crime the right of a trial before a jury of his peers. Third, the right of colored men to act as counsel in the courts of the black man. Fourth, to carry the ballot box. So we then went, hold on, let me get God in here. We then went to a black newspaper, the Journal of Freedom, that was started by who? Edward P. Brooks, edited by Edward P. Brooks and John Quincy Adams Crane, in Raleigh, North Carolina. And this paper was a suffrage newspaper, universal suffrage newspaper. And in that newspaper, we explored, the intentions of black folks at the time. And this idea of African descent, as we see on page 2, with regard to those rights. Hold on, let me make sure. See it here, cover the color conventions. So I don't know what's going on, Rob.
Ain't nothing, man. I just had the urge to go live, son, and I just hit the phone. I was like, I'm going live.
You see this right here?
My
That's
bad,
all
bro.
good. I don't know how it let us do it at the same time, but
yeah, I don't know that neither. Are you on your computer?
I'm on my computer.
Yeah, I think that's why, bro, because I just did it on my phone.
Yo, check this out right here, yo. This is, and again, I kind of, mumbled through it earlier, but I got to pay homage, but this is the real journal, not to be confused with that New York little thing they had up there called Freedom Journal. This is the real journal, okay? Right? You see that, Rob Bourne? The Journal of Freedom, right?
Right.
But I want to read this again because some people may have missed it earlier. So in this article, they were describing suffrage and how there was some inconsistencies on how they dealt with foreigners or European immigrants and their voting principles. It says a simple and just application of the great principle in which our government is based. The consent of the governed would obliterate all distinctions on account of color or race, and that the African will have the same right to a voice in making laws which he has to obey as the Irishman. No one will pretend for a moment to deny the right of a native Irish, German, or English descent to vote, and it seems to the unprecedented a strange piece of inconsistency that an expectation of this generally accepted rule should be made against the descendants of Africa. So, I don't know, man. Let me start sharing my screen because my joint was going crazy earlier. And again, this is the Journal of Freedom for those who are interested, for my fellow North Carolinians. Check this out, Library of Congress. You don't have to pay for it. No credit card required. You don't need your Venmo, no Cash App. You don't need a Bitcoin. You don't need a crypto wallet. You don't need a $50,000 book, a $10,000 book. even the journal I brought up from the Constitutional Convention in 1835 is free. And I will be sure to put the link to the Constitutional Convention in 1835, as well as the Constitutional Convention of Negroes, in the description of the video. Start sharing my screen. What's going on, Rob? Close some of these tabs. Chat disconnected. Chat 2. Y'all can still hear me? We good? Pieces of Cabo. Type of teaching. Yeah, sources are provided and available. All of you can open up a tab. Confiscation Act 61, 62, Militia Act of 62. You can see the creation of the United States Colored Troops. And I mean, I don't know how the individuals continue to suggest that people weren't here. Yeah, these are freebies. These are layups that we provide in here. Everything I showed you is based off what Africans said, Black people said for themselves. You see colored people, Black people, Negroes, and Africans used throughout their conversation. So there's no confusion. Like, people gotta relax. Go ahead, Rob. I don't know if you want to go.
No, I was asking you, did you have the that book, that Abraham Lincoln colonization after emancipation?
You talking about the committee report?
Nah, it's a book. It's a book about it, but it's all good.
Oh no, see, I know you.
Cause I'm outside right now, so I can't. I did a presentation.
Yeah. You should have your stuff. I know. I remember. I'm gonna post it in the matter of fact, I'll do that right now. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that shit is dope because it ties into the conversation you're having. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. The communities in the communities in the turmoil right now, brother.
Hey, it's. I want to make sure that when we step to the plate, because it really is easy if we being honest. They don't have an argument. I just want that to be clear. This is just some, really, it's really about just being, a nerd with it, because it's dope information, because you don't get this on a regular basis. They just tell you that, Reconstruction or the Civil War was, again, a white man's war. You were just there digging holes and shit, digging trenches and feeding people. The turn of the tide of the Civil War certainly can be associated with the inception of the Negro into, Union forces. And the United States Colored Troops, though, as the article mentioned, took a brunt of the casualties via proportion. That just shows you the levels people are willing to go for freedom. So, and this is, again, Black people speaking for themselves. This is their newspaper. These from the Black people in Raleigh in 1865. So, go ahead, Rob.
Awesome, Seneb. Awesome, Seneb. Awesome. What made you do this today?
Man, I had it for a while, and I was reading something else, a paper by John Hope Franklin. He brought up the New Bern. They had like a town hall meeting where you had the first call for a nationwide convention, because New Bern at the time also had an African brigade that was made up of self-emancipated Africans who went into Union lines. They formed their own militia as well as a colored troop. So these are people that we referring to and that now forming political bodies, demanding payment for the freedom that the Militia Act gave them, a few years earlier. And you kind of see the opposition. And I was reading some other stuff by some white authors like in North Carolina, but I just wanted to make it clear, because it seems like a lot of the abolition effort was just in the South. In that article, it talked about how the fact that the free population in North Carolina at the time, voting privileges did you see the joint I pulled up? The voting privileges were stripped specifically for free Negroes and mulattoes. So they took that voting privilege away while those people were still being taxed. So though it may not have been as pretty as up north, we definitely saw a political movement, in the South, and a purposeful disenfranchisement before Reconstruction. They did it twice. So yeah, I just wanted to show that.
That's dope, bro. And I'm also lit, man. I'm lit on so many different avenues with this information, man. I showed Kaba some of it earlier. So you know how these dudes be talking about you don't know your great grandfather and all this other shit,
No.
bro. My tree, son. I got my tree going back to 1833, bro. On both sides, son. Son.
Word,
Oh man,
word.
son. I just gotta wait for the DNA to come back, and then I'm gonna tell my story, son.
Oh man, that's
I'm
the
gonna tell my story, son.
yeah.
And
You know what it's gonna say, right?
yo, what makes my story so crazy is that both of my trees start in the Bahamas. So all of them have to have nationalization records. So you gotta tell the people who you are, who your kids are. So that's what makes it easy for in my case, to find everybody. Man, let's just say African, African. Yo, it's bad because how it works is I got the census records, right?
Yeah.
So the census records tell you what they do, what their occupation was, all that shit, bro. And then I saw the war, a lot of them one fought in the Korean War. They fought in a lot of wars. So I'm looking at this shit laughing. They got boxes there. The shit had Negro, Indian.
Oh man.
Those niggas ain't checked the Indian pot.
they said
They ain't checked the Indian pot.
they said black, yo. That's what they said.
Yo, Sunday ain't checked the Indian box. But I got some natives in my family though. I do got some.
Yeah, I mean,
I
you know,
I got some.
we try to
I
tell
got
them
some
that
in
like
my. I got
it
some.
can be some in there. I got some in mine too. Like we acknowledge that they there. They just go, excuse me, overboard with it when they had these kind of conversations, yo. Like,
Yo, son, I'm so
yeah.
thirsty to show this shit. I just want to wait till the DNA come back though. When the DNA come back, that's just gonna make it even worse,
And, yo,
bro.
that's how I felt when I had this info right here. I got some more stuff on. I'm trying to lure Danny out. You know,
Nah, Danny out. I think he went out.
he out.
I think he went out, yo. Yeah, son. So and then while I'm doing my tree, right? I'm like, yo, how the fuck you dudes trace your shit back to 1600 somewhere, bro? Because the way how it's set up, just because somebody has the same last name or lives around in the same address, you gotta have the census record, you gotta have some kind of medical record, any other kind of thing, nigga, war drafts, occupation, all that shit, because all of those are sources to prove that. And I got the pictures, bro. And I got some pictures, son.
Oh
So
man,
my
hey,
great
bro,
great
I'm happy for you,
grandfather,
man.
my
Honestly,
great great grandfather, son, I look just like this nigga, bro. This shit crazy, bro. This shit crazy, bro. So y'all want to talk this bullshit? I'm gonna show you how you do some genealogy with the DNA research. We gonna show you that. We gonna show you some knowledge of self, buddy.
I mean, what Jay say? What more can I say?
Bro, I
And
was turned up
I'm gonna
when I
put it. I'm
found
gonna put a
yo
link in the chat again because one dude's in the chat talking cash. So I wanted him to come in, but he did the Apple shuffle on out the door, I believe. But I know they in here. We got 20. I know they in here. Peace, Kamu.
oh, this guy Tashun Shannon showed five slave
Yeah,
ships. Goofy. We got the Colada. We got the Henrietta Marie. We got the Bogota. We got the William. What do you want, bro? I showed this shit on the screen on the internet Indian massacre, bro. What you want, bro? How about you show me five European ships that came here? How about that? Show me the ships that shipped the natives around to fucking the Caribbean. Cause y'all like talking about the inter-Indian slave trade. It did happen. How'd they get there? They walked from North America to fucking Jamaica, nigga? Or they took a boat. They had to take a boat. There was no planes. Show me the boat. That y'all crazy, bro. Come on, Tashawn. Tashawn.
the link is in the chat. See, we having time for y'all. Hey, yo, I swear they had that joint running for like 4 days. You know
What
what
you
I'm
said?
saying? They got a joint. Yo, me and Kamu was in the room earlier today. Yo, we was building. Yo, we was going at them. Shout out to Kamu. You know, one aspect of this idea that's really frustrating is you can't use information or quote unquote white man science, historical records, documents when it only benefits you. It can't be conspiracy theory when you're found, uh, your information is found wanting. And you see that a lot with these weirdos. It's predicated upon conspiracy and this allegory that somebody's taking land from them when they beat you up off the land. They ain't trying to, and that's not being insensitive to those who actually dealt with that experience. That's to those who are faking the funk off the strength of my ancestors' experience to create one of their own. I'm not cool with that. You will certainly be. I don't see how y'all do clubhouse to women are super. I mean, peace to and I love a black woman. It's just I can understand why somebody would be frustrated. They've been sold a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of those guys up there is man. There's definitely some disrespect. The sister that up there today was disrespectful. She was mad. It was disrespectful. She was disrespecting Kamala. I ain't like that. I ain't like the
Yeah,
fact.
I don't go in. You notice when y'all be, I don't go in those groups. The reason why I don't do it, if I don't control the group, I'm not going in there because all they're going to do is curse you out, try to mute you, kick you
Well, no,
out.
this wasn't even one of them kind of rooms. This was like, they just wanted the question was, can you be indigenous and African at the same time? But the creators of the room seemed more abocentric. But, it was like, you would give them information and it's, oh, well, two things can be the same at the same time. Like, yeah, you could be indigenous, but the conversation moved to black people came to the America before Columbus, and we kept asking and asking for proof. No one gave us any. It was my brother. They started talking about Mongoloids and Bering Strait, Pangea. It became ridiculous, and Shorty was just being disrespectful. But yeah, Chauncey was in there.
Do me a favor, Seneb, since you on the computer, pull up Higgs Cemetery, African Burial Ground, Higgs, Higgs Cemetery, and see if it tell you. I mean, if it got the image or something where it break down these recaptured slave ships.
You said Pig Cemetery.
Higgs, Higgs Cemetery.
Higgs Cemetery, African Cemetery at Higgs Beach.
Hey, man, pull that up, man. See if it talk about them boats and them Africans. You want some boats? God damn it! You want some boats? We're gonna give you some records of some boats.
Let's see.
I'm a true Floridanian now.
Oh, you don't move? You move down?
What happened?
I said you move.
I ain't move, but I'm a Floridanian, bro.
Hey, welcome to the South. That's where your joint gonna come back. It's gonna come back saying that you.
I'm not from your parts though, nigga. I'm different. I'm from the Key West, Alkian Islands, and all that.
Yeah.
You from some other part.
You behind enemy lines too. You eating pig knuckles and
Nah. We eat lots of fish and shrimps and all that other stuff. We wasn't doing that shit you was doing. Nah. So what does it say in there? Does it say something about the boats, about the recaptured Africans, the Bagada, William? I can't see that joint. It's too small.
I think the internet going out, yo. I don't know if I can show it right now. Oh, it came up. It says, among modern Key West's greatest characteristics and its inclusiveness, but you may not realize that Key West has historically been an oasis of diversity. During the Civil War, Key West remained in the United States despite Florida having joined the secession. African Americans on the islands lived as free among long before they became to the new land. Make no mistake, Key West did have its faults when it comes to early race relations, especially when it judged from our modern. I don't know, this is what you're talking about. Oh, that's the historical marker, though. The state of Florida historical marker gives the grave site reads. Near this site, the life and remains of 294 African men, women, and children who died in Key West in 1860. In the summer of that year, U.S. Naval rescued 1,432 Africans from three American-owned ships engaged in the illegal slave trade. Ships bound for Cuba were intercepted by the U.S. Navy, who brought the freed Africans to Key West, where they were provided with clothing, shelter, and medical treatment. They had spent weeks in unsanitary and inhumane conditions aboard the slave ships. The U.S. steamship Mohawk, Wyandotte, and Crusader rescued these individuals from the wildfire, where 507 were rescued. The William, where 513 were rescued, and the Bogota, where 417 were rescued.
So you got the William, you got the Bogota,
Wildfire and the Bogota.
Wildfire, Bogota. Yeah, yeah.
It says by August, more than 1,000 survivors left for Liberia, West Africa, and a county formed in former American slaves, where the U.S. government supported them for a time. Hundreds died on the ships before reaching Liberia. Thus, survivors were returned to their native land, Africa. Yeah, man. I think I don't know if they got that's for y'all.
And look at the date. That's 1860, bro.
1860.
That's illegal slave trading. So I guess what boats were they using to capture these ships? What was the squad? What is it? The West African Squadron? Yeah. How do you get around this, Abdominals? Abdominals. Why did they make something called the West African Squadron to intercept slave ships? Abdominals. Yeah, yeah. Pull it up, man. Let's get them. Let's give them some more. Let's give them some more work.
All right, pulling it
West
up.
African Squadron, baby.
So here's the source here for the African Squadron, the Ashburton Treaty, Counselor C. Letters by Commander H.A. Foote, who was, from the African Squadron. I'm going to take this one just for general purpose, and I'm going to put it in the chat for you. Because, we show sources around here. We don't really you don't have to believe what we say. So, hope everybody, I'm going to make that a little bit better. Can you see that, Rob on?
What happened?
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, it's small though, but I can see it.
I can make it bigger.
Yeah, man, you ain't even have to go through the primary. Your ass is crazy. You could just go to the or something just so they can see what it is.
Hey, listen, it says the annual meeting of the Board of Directors of the African American Colonization Society held in Washington, D.C. on 18 January 1855. Whereas the African Squadron has protected the legal commerce of the United States on the coast of the continent, has had an essential agency towards removing the guilt of the slave trade from the world, and has afforded continuance to the Republic of Liberia, therefore resolved no article of the Western Aspect Treaty ought to be abridged, nor the African Squadron be withdrawn or reduced, and let it be the number of guns specified in the treaty. So this unit was created for the purposes of, defending and protecting, or I guess removing the trade or West African trade. See it here?
Bang, bang. Don DeMarco.
So I don't know. Nobody hit that link yet.
How many people watching?
What we got? We got 26 in here.
Damn, it's light tonight, man. What the hell?
No, I think it probably was the two shows. We running at the same time. Sources in the chat.
Sister Kaba.
The sources in the chat, Abos, you can look up A.H. Foote. He can be corroborated. That text can also be found on Library of Congress, as well as google.com and archive.org for free. No credit card required. Yeah, man, we getting them right at the source. I'm gonna show you black folks calling themselves black folks, talking about Africa and civil liberties. So I think they still refuse. They've been on defense for so long because the information we give them it's been like, stiff jabs and uppercuts, Canelo uppercuts. Hey, yo, the fight tonight, ain't it? All my fight people out there, the fight tonight, ain't it? I hope Mayweather don't get knocked out, yo. Y'all still with me? I didn't see how y'all.
With you. I'm about to jump off though, man. I
Yeah,
just
I'm
came to
done.
support.
I'm about going to.
But yeah, man. Shit, light up in this motherfucker, man. I don't
It's
know.
all good.
We're gonna have to turn up.
Peace to everyone, the 26 that joined us and the ones who will be watching this later on. We appreciate your support. Please follow us on Clubhouse, same room name, each one, teach one, as well as our YouTube, excuse me, not YouTube, but Facebook, each one, teach one YouTube group. Leave a comment if you got any questions. You know, you want to any topics you want us to build on. Feel free. We see nobody hit that link, so you know I think that issue's done. Rob, anything you want to say before we close out? Oh, I think he's gone already. All right, so peace, y'all. Again, like the show, share the show, hit that bell so you be notified when we go live, and check us out later on. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I got you, Bayas. Hey, Bayas, real quick before I go, when will you be available this week to come on the show and build? I want to get that. I want to make sure we secure that. You know, is tomorrow cool? You know what I'm saying? Or you want me to hit you in the back chat? BC Round, peace, Zane. It's always love, Sister Kaba. I tell you what, I hit you up in the back chat. I'll meet you up now. Anytime with 2 hours notice, bet. So I'm gonna have some more information for you. Let's shoot for like tomorrow, same time. I'll hit you up around noon. I gotta work tonight, but I'll hit you up around noon so we can iron out the particulars and give you some of the topics, see if you want to build on. Again, appreciate everyone for joining us. Like, share the show. Peace.